Welcome to the NoNDB podcast, Tales from the Trailer. I'm your host, Jack Lazaro.
And I'm Karen Alexander, and we have an exciting show for you today. We are going to have a conversation with Jenna Elfman.
This is actually a really funny and fun interview. We decided not to go through Jenna's history and the characters that she did. We decided to go and dive deep into what it takes to collaborate with an actress as a hair and makeup artist.
Hair, makeup. He always says it the other way around. She actually goes deep into her process with all of the creative departments, and not only with the creatives, she even goes into above the line producers and conversations and things that she has with them to bring to life the character that she is portraying. And I find her to be an incredibly intelligent, remarkable woman who is just genuine and lovely.
Such a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
What a great way to spend the time that we had during this interview to really show you, the audience, what it takes to collaborate with all of these different departments and how sometimes you have to go with your gut and trust your instincts and to be there in that moment. Anyway, such great conversation that we had. I can't wait to share it with you. So without further ado,
enjoy.
On the NoNDB podcast, Tales from the Trailer, here's Jenna Elfman. Welcome to the NoNDB podcast, Tales from the Trailer. Today we are here with our very special guest, Jenna Elfman. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. I'm your favorite, right?
Yes, you
absolutely.
are. Absolutely. Hands down, our total favorite. And we're ready to
On the
get
spot.
Yeah. We're going to go for it.
It's all about character building and process for us. And we love to hear how people approach that. Could you tell us a little bit about your creative process and how you develop character?
Yeah, and I'm equally as obsessed with hearing yours and also hearing other departments and their process that you encounter and how they harmonize, how they clash and collide, and what those remedies are and how navigating that. I'm fascinated with that. So I'm equally as excited to hear your process. I did glean many of your moments of your process in our discussions of creating June together, because it was like, we came in and landed on that final season of Fear the Walking Dead, working together for the first time after all of us had been working with these characters. So I would imagine that was, for me, I felt very confident, and I'll just start with my relationship to you guys first, and then I'll go into mine. But I felt very confident and comfortable with you guys straight away, and was aware of your professionalism and your ability to communicate about the creative process with talent, just in how our discourse went on texting and prepping. And I did really want to acknowledge you guys, because I really do feel like, of course, you'll have your point of view. You'll have watched everything we did before. You'll have your own point of view about what could be better that you could make better, or what you want to maintain that's workable and familiar for how June looks, that the audience has already built like an affection for, a relationship with, the balancing act of new season, new chapter, time jump. But things have been established, but also you're there to bring your art form. And I just really loved how I did feel that you granted me that process, that I had narrative already created. But there's a big time jump, and we had so much room to create. And I was very much looking forward to creating and getting your input. And also, you guys had been in meetings with the producers and the showrunners that we aren't privy to, which is something I have a separate, not with the Walking Dead universe, specifically at all, just in general, a barrier I feel I run into, which is information, so that I can best bring to my job and execute the vision that the showrunners or whoever it is that is, leading the story, I'm helping tell that intention. And, my realm is bringing my gift and what they've already told me. But I do feel when it comes to hair and makeup and I'm trying to have conversations with the creative departments, they have all this information I don't have. And I find that gets really weird because they sometimes might be operating off of information I haven't even been given. And so sometimes we're not speaking the same language, or we'll be missing and not even knowing it, and actually creating dissonance accidentally just by lack of harmony of information. And I do find I run into, like, for lack of a better word, a prejudice against talent having information. Because I think talent, egos sometimes make it difficult for the top creatives to maintain what they want to be doing, and certain talent gets in there and thinks they know best or whatever. It abuses the exposure to information. For me, I just want to be as in harmony as possible with the vision, and I need information in order to do that. So I always felt really like you guys blended all those parts. You filled in blanks where I may not have haven't had them, in ways that were still like maintaining what your responsibilities were. So I really appreciated that, and I love working with you guys.
Sure.
Thank you. I mean, I have to say that's one of the things that was so great about us working with you, is that I think you and I started texting almost a month or so before you came, because we just started filming the first episode. And because of that, we had a little bit of a familiarity when you got there, because we'd already been having conversations and stuff. And it is a little scary going into a season of a show that has been going on for so long.
Yeah.
Because now we have to honor everything that's been in the past, but we also want to give you opportunities to create the June 8 years later. Like and you've been living here for so long. And we're just obviously speaking off of our shared experience. I find that with cast, if we allow them to give us their interpretation, we can then share that as well with the people above us, the producers and directors, because sometimes we're that link. And we're like, we've had conversations. This is the idea, and this is the reason behind the idea. And they give us probably a little more information then too as well, because they're like, oh, yeah, you're correct about the whole not speaking and sharing information as well. They're always like, well, don't let them know, but we're going to do this. And you're like, but that's the whole arc. That's the whole process.
That drives me crazy. And I understand it, but boy, is that a button for me. It really is a button. Sorry to interrupt you, but
no, it's totally fine. It's absolutely, it's just like when we're prepping for something, and Jack and I came up against this. We know what's happening right now, but what's happening next? And they're like, well, we really don't want to print those, give those to you and things like that. And you're like, but that matters now. So we need to know where we get to go.
Right.
We don't want to go too far, because we may have to pull back then, and that doesn't make any sense. And that's what was another thing that was amazing about working with you on this character, is that it wasn't just about the written words. It was about her whole context. It was who she was and how she felt about things and how she presented herself was constant. And to keep that going, you want to be a part of that without taking you away from any of that and putting you into something that doesn't make sense. Changing how you look doesn't make sense to you, so then it throws you into another place where the continuity is different. That makes,
No, it is. And sometimes, like in terms of, okay, starting to create June for season 8, big time jump, lots has happened. Has happened. She's living on her own. She's been up against mega oppression and evil and has had serious trauma, but her North Star is, am I helping? Am I able to help? How can I keep helping? How can I be of service? That's how she feels. That's how she stays in her own skin. And so her version, which was quite desperate, and all she could do was to cut off the trigger fingers of the people that were doing evil things, to weaken them and not be able to use that as leverage to other people to do these terrible things that they did to her, that they made her do. Okay, a girl, then I start working backwards. So she's living on her own for 6 years, 8 years, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It originally was going to be like on a beach. So I originally was working with, she has to keep herself super fit, because if she has to fight off and has on her own, she has to be able to keep up with the demand of that survival demand. And so I was like, okay, well, she's on the beach. She's a swimmer. She swims. She used swimming to keep her whole upper body and core like on it. And then it was like, okay, it became more, she's in the swamp type territory. I was like, well, she still has to keep herself fit. So, I wanted her to be a warrior because she was. The only way you can survive like that is to be like absolutely self-sufficient. So what does self-sufficient look like? Physically? What does self-sufficient look like mentally? What are her awarenesses are in her environment? How familiar she is with the environment around her. The environment around her home is still her home. It's her yard. She's made it hers. She's set, she watches, she knows the routes. She's, very competent, but also aware that danger lurks behind any possible tree. And just so then what does that do to her endocrine system? What is the state of her adrenals at any given time? What is her sustenance? What does she do for food? How able to stay fed has she? And how hungry is she? What that does to you? Plus necessity level will pull you out of any discomfort when your life is depending on it or someone else's life is depending on it and you're really connected to a strong purpose. So that was how I then started working with wardrobe and working with you on like longer, more hair, because I wanted her to be feral. That was a concept you and I had talked about with hair.
My favorite.
It's just feral. And it was the perfect word. And scrappy and sometimes the sound is like puts me in her body.
Says it better than anything else. There was a conversation you and I had, and it kind of bleeds into all of this about how we knew she had all this stuff. We knew she had all this hair. She was all these things, but we also knew that there was the nurse. There was the part of her was cutting fingers off. There's a part of her doing that. So you talked about it, and I thought it was like such a brilliant move. We're like, we need something to pull her hair back with.
Right.
We need something that doesn't scream, oh my God, it's just there to pull her hair back, because that's going to not make any sense. And she is competent and she's created things to live and she's done things. And then you had the conversation with the costume designer. And it was like, you came back and you're like, it's perfect. It's a necklace. It's got a thing. If you just pull it in there. And you wore it every day. It was part of your costume that to me just fit June so well. It was something that was not ornamental. It was something that was necessary. And yet it gave that little bit of edge to her as well. And I just remember that conversation thinking, that's perfect.
Yeah.
This way we can do what we need to do so that you can still do what you have to do. But I hate when you're watching something and all of a sudden it's like, where did they get that from?
Yeah, that's convenient. It's like, and I like that it's a little bit of an aesthetic. It's a little bit of her adorning, but at the same time, it's like, she can use it. At the same time, she can hook things in it that she finds and keep her hands free. I mean, it's like a multitasking.
It's fun when you get to work with an actress or an actor that gets you and lets you help create that character. Because when we did talk about a lot of the beach stuff, we did think she was living on the beach, not so far inland. And so that's where that real blonde came in, and she's been in the sun, and she's, like you said, swims. You were able to guide me in such a great way so that I could already see it. Like we were able to have conversations where you could describe things, because I believe that you go so deep into it that it makes perfect sense. And
and the Pinterest boards help too, because then
yes.
You were able to then show, you had something visual to show the showrunners, so you're not just like trying to describe something out of context or in a vacuum of what, like this is,
Really loved being able to help create June 7 years later with you, or 8 years later. Part of my process is that it can be shed very, very quickly, because if somebody doesn't like it, if producers don't like it, okay, well, we'll go with something else. We'll do something different. If you didn't like the sunburn that we were doing on you, then I was gonna pivot.
I love the sunburn.
I did too.
I loved
it.
And it was when I was there, I was, you sat in my chair and I said, I've got a couple of things that I'd like to try. And it was great because it wasn't a shooting day, because we've all had that where it's like, hey, nice to meet you. We need to go set up right now and get to set. We had a full day where we could do tests and we could kind of learn things about each other. And I loved the nurse quality of it, because as June is a nurse, she's a do no harm person. And then how hard does that have to, how badly does life have to beat you for you to go, I'm not killing people, but I'm taking fingers. And I loved every bit about that scrappiness. You could see the remnants of the honoring of the John Dory relationship in that. And just so much of it jumped off the page. So I really loved creating this character, because you said, yes, oh, more. Yes, do more. Oh, I love all of these things. Give, and help me create this. Help us get this character to some place where, you know, people really, really want to continue to be invested.
Yes.
But then we get to a couple of episodes in, and we now have 19 characters, and they're all in different spots, and you don't get all of the lovely showrunner, hey, this is what's happening to June in the next episode, and all of those things. And you're like, no, I don't care about the next episode. What is happening right now? I don't know what's happening with June. So how do you mine for the information, or do you just hang back on the work that you've already done?
I suppose it's contextual, so it depends. What I have done in the past, I remember there was an episode in season 7, and there was so much in it. It was me and John Dory Sr. and trying to get out of the tower. And it's this whole thing, trying to get the baby out. It's the episode where John Dory Sr. sacrifices himself.
Is it in the water?
And
are you guys down in like the basement or something? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And there was so, in that scene down in the water, there were so many key information moments, key pivot. And I was having a really hard time. And this was like the night before we're going to film it. And I don't like waiting till the last minute, but it was all consuming. And I was working on the scene, and I'm like, I was having like a really hard logic moment here. Like, I don't understand why. And I always, since Dharma and Greg, I always am like, it's me. I'm missing something here. It's my fault. It's my deficiency that this is not, I'm missing something. What don't I know? Or I'm not getting it. And then I just couldn't crack it. And I called Ian. I texted Ian, one of our showrunners, Ian Goldberg. I was like, hey, I spent hours trying to work on this myself, and I actually can't crack this one transition. I don't know what I'm missing. Mm-hmm. And he got on the phone with me. He's like, oh no, you're right. That totally makes no sense. I think that's a holdover miss from a rewrite. So always good to communicate, and don't be scared to communicate, especially as women. Yeah. I think that we are less courageous to communicate in times of query because we feel like it's going to make us even more subordinated than we already are by default in this town. And certainly I have that and have had that. And I'm really, really working on actually not having that and just taking that out of my mathematical equation of how I approach my work, because it's an additive that doesn't serve anybody. So I have to that's a little bit of a discipline point for me to actually grant myself the right to have something doesn't sit right here, hop on the phone sooner, have the questions asked sooner. So in those moments, I think it's important for talent to build a good relationship. And I do have a good communicative relationship with Ian and Andrew, and they were amazing, always saying, always ask us. If you have any question, ask us, text us, email us, please. Because sometimes we miss something, we are more enlightened from you sharing your perspective. It helps us with story. They're very humble in that regard, zero ego about it. And I would always feel like, oh, I'm going to bug them. I know they have so much going on. I don't want to bug them. And I recently had to really realize this is my job. It's not bugging them. It's actually discourse of the profession. So, and I know a lot of the male actors had no problem. emailing them and reaching out to them. And I was like all respectful of their time, but at the sacrifice of me getting information that I actually just needed to do my job. So I recently was like, oh, wait, I don't have to act that way. Like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. But as a woman, I was like subordinating myself. So I'm not going to do that anymore. But in the moment, Jack, in those times where I'm like, I don't know what's happening right now, if it's an important part of the story for my character in that scene, I will be talking to them, asking the director, what do you know that I'm missing here? And it really could be, oh, we missed something. Mm-hmm. If it really isn't, if it's a scene where it's like, this isn't a key turning point in the story where my character is not changing as a result, or she's not causing a major change, I just play some internal and I just let it go by. Mm-hmm. I just pick something I can get behind, pick something that feels real to me, and just play some internal story. You know, if I'm kind of like almost an extra in the scene, or I'm like, what is my form here? Why am I even here? You know, listen, it's hard. They had, like, for the final season, like, there's so many characters, so many arcs, so many greater narratives that they have to serve to the overall Walking Dead universe that none of us are aware of. The fans don't even know. That will all make sense later, probably, you know, so there's like a lot. And I felt very empathetic to that, which is probably also why I was like, I don't want to give them a hard time if I'm not understanding something, because it may be totally out of their hands, or anyway, communication, bottom line, communication it's always a no or no answer or no information if you don't communicate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it does take courage to communicate, and you communicate with professionalism, grace, respect, deference, but communicate. And it's amazing how much better everything can be.
And as women, you're correct. I've sometimes I'm always like, God, am I just being annoying? Or sometimes if you're asking a lot of questions, but you're confused about things and you're asking for clarification, it almost becomes as we're being pushy, we're wanting too much. I have a hard time as a department head sometimes knowing where that is as well. And sometimes I'm just like, oh, I don't want to have to do this again. I really don't, because you don't want to be that proverbial squeaky wheel, you know.
Ladies,
and I think,
may I ask, is it easier to deal with recently, or was it harder earlier in your careers, and has it changed, or is it more of the same and you're just learning to speak up?
Harder before, getting better. A little bit of trauma that I have to catch up to the present moment and realize that I'm in like past professional trauma, and go, wait, nope, I'm going to communicate. And I know how to communicate with respect. I know my intentions are pure. I know I'm a good person, and I totally want to serve the greater story completely. Right. I'm no ego about that whatsoever. But it's an exercise. Like, it's a self-discipline. It's like a martial art rudiments. You know, you just are drumming, you just practice your rudiments. It's actually like being brave enough to communicate, you know, maybe, and read the people you're working with. You know, if they're like, please communicate, well, like, why wouldn't I? Like, I've been given full permission. So I was like, well, that was just past trauma that I'm keeping myself from communicating.
Well, and I think, I do think that it's gotten a lot easier for me, obviously, as I've gotten more comfortable with myself as well. And I've learned that there's no reason I shouldn't be allowed to ask these questions.
Yeah. I guess just being a man, I take it for granted that.
Well, I mean, you know, it depends on who you're talking to and stuff too. I do everything happy. It's always like, hi, sorry to bother you, but if you have a minute. I guess the thing is I still think about it. It's not just a natural thing to walk up and be like, so I got to talk to you about this. Whereas for you, probably, you just walk up and you're like, hey, this is what's going on. And for me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go up. I'm going to say, this is what I'm going to ask this question. And then I go do it. But it's not just a natural reflex I think in general in society, for women to do that. We say thank you and we say sorry. And that's just coming from a long ways away. But
it really is. Yeah. And if men are like, listen, I need to talk. Come on. Then they're like, yeah, what's up? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Uh-huh. if I did that, it'd be like, damn, bitch. Wow.
I know. Can you imagine? Oh, she's so pushy. She's so demanding. Yeah.
Diva attitude. Well, what's gotten up her ass?
Wow.
You know, I wouldn't communicate that way at all. But I think for men, just in general, it's a gruffer discourse sometimes. And it's acceptable and fine. And they have like a unspoken pact, just like women do on certain things. And it's just, it's a male, it's still, we've come so far, but it is still like, there is holdover trauma ghosts of oppression past of, what do you have to say, little lady? Oh, you think you have a note or an idea? What is it? And you're like,
what is it, sweetheart? What is it, sweetheart?
Yeah, sweetheart. That's why June, there was that episode in season 7 where John Dory Sr. calls her sweetheart, and he's being so condescending, and she just pulls her gun, and she's like, don't call me that. Don't call me that.
Yeah.
The big thing is for us to not say sorry as our introduction to our viewpoints or ideas. I think the senior most important thing is competence. And if you're really freaking good at what you do and you are always working on your craft, you will be respected, and you don't have to lead with "I'm sorry." You can be graceful, professional, but you're so dang good at what you do. They're like, yes, let's hear what you have to say when you walk up, because they respect you because you're great at what you do. And I think, to me, and that only makes it where everybody wins. If you keep improving your craft, by you, I mean anybody listening, we, the collective, all of us. Just be so good and always work to expand your knowledge of other departments, your own. Stay up to date with technology and what the cinematographers might be operating off of, what the visual effects people might be operating off of, and stay up to date on it all and stay in that knowledge game. And I think that that's probably, when you approach professional conversations with the viewpoint of knowledge and professionalism, by default, people are going to be interested and curious what you have to say, unless they're actually against the process, in which case you are so late to that person's toxic personality. There's nothing you're going to,
That's one thing that I did find about working on the last season of Fear with you guys. I felt that we did get that respect from the people that were making the decisions, that they listened to what we said. And that was so refreshing, because in most instances they don't. It is a fight, and it is a fight to get the things that our actors want. It's a fight, it's a constant battle. And on that show, we could back up what we needed and things like that. But it's almost like the first time you actually get to feel that in your profession changes how you present yourself and also how you interact on the next one. Because now I know when I go in, that's what I'm supposed to be getting. That's what it's supposed to be like. So I don't have to be, I'm sorry, can I bother you for a minute? It's the same thing. It's when I feel confident in what I'm doing, and I know what I'm doing, because I am confident in what I do, and I do believe that I do a good job. I don't need to apologize for doing my job.
You don't have to apologize to exist in space and communicate on behalf of your job that they've hired you to do. We don't, but we feel like we do.
Correct.
It's a thing. It's a weird thing.
I've felt guilty of that for a long time, because in my upbringing with my mentors and whatnot, it was don't ever talk to producers. Don't ever sit in that seat. Don't ever, you just go over in a corner and be seen and not heard.
And that's which is someone's trauma. They're pushing their trauma onto you, really. It doesn't allow you to find you on your job from you. It's like bad information.
Yeah, but also I had a big mouth early in my career, and I probably could have done a lot more damage than I needed to.
Think about what he's saying. What's funny is, because my mom was in the industry, started in the 60s. And when I first started working for her, she would be that. She'd be like, you need to be respectful. You don't approach. Let me, it was just so funny to me, because I was like, why? Why can't I talk to them? Why can't I do that? And she didn't have a good answer for it, but it was how she was trained. Especially as a woman in the industry, there was not very many of them. And it was like, you are seen, but not heard. You just stay over there and do your job. You know what I mean? It was like, I was that next generation, I guess, coming up saying, it doesn't have to be this way anymore. And now I'm the person, it's like, I'm always saying to people, you can talk to anyone. They're the same as you. They just have a different title in front of their name. They're not any better or any less.
And you won't know until you talk to them. Like, you can't take some other generation person's rules and apply it and think it applies to the person now. You actually should communicate and find out, what do they need and want? How do they want communication to be delivered to them, and when? Like, find out from them what they actually need to do their job. So they're like, hey, when I'm on set, like, I really want to answer your questions. Let's get it done in the production meetings. Is really trying to figure it out. Can you ask so-and-so? Or you just find out from them.
Yeah.
What is it for them? You know, and they should find out what yours is too, so that everyone can best do their job.
I'm going to backtrack just a little bit on the process and the things that we were, have you always gone through the same motions, or is this something you learned the more you worked, what worked better for you? Like, is this the process that you started with when you started acting and you knew that you needed the information to do all this? Or is this something that as you grew as an actor became something that you needed and something that you did?
I think each project is a little bit different. I always like information because I have my imagination, I have my interpretation of the story, but I do need to know what is the aesthetics, what is the aesthetic of the story? How is this narrative going to be conveyed? You know, what's the wavelength of tone of this? You know, if it's a comedy, what type of comedy, what tone, what wavelength are we talking here? You know, from the director or the writer, there's how it lands for me, but I need to know, because that kind of, you know, I guess an analogy would be like a singer can sing the same song in the same key, but if they're going to sing it in this voice, you know, their front face, their mouth voice, their chest voice, it's going to sound different, and it's going to have a different wavelength of emotion. And so it's kind of, for me, it's navigating like, okay, we all read the same script and I see the character description, but I need to know, like, where is this going to be placed, this song? You know, where is this communication? And obviously all the scenes, as the characters change and navigate, that placement would shift as the story and the character changes, of course. But just in terms of the broad aesthetic brackets, I would say, definitely finding out within the genre, what are some comps? You know, what is this tone? Is it, you know, do you want this relationship between, like with Keeping the Faith, Edward Norton was directing that, and Stu Bloomberg wrote it, who's so awesome. And, you know, a big reference point for Edward was the Philadelphia Story. Okay. And so I watched that movie a lot because there was a rhythm to the banter that these best friends had that he really loved, that they had in that story. And, you know, so sometimes once I know the brackets, then I let my imagination and inspiration go wild with things that like excite me to create that character. And how, one thing I always do, always, this actually is a constant, is I find as a starting point, what is that character's home base, her emotional, psychological, spiritual home, so that I can, you know, in terms of the main of the story, like for Ed TV, there was a Ron Howard film I did where I played Matthew McConaughey's girlfriend. Woody Harrelson was his brother or something. My character was a UPS driver, and she is now suddenly, Matthew McConaughey is a star on a reality show, and the cameras are following him everywhere. And my character was not someone who is a very confident girl in this relationship with him, let alone confident in life and how she feels about her sexual female self. And then all of a sudden cameras aren't on her. And I was working with the writers and I said, you know, I feel like her space only comes out about 3 inches from her body. So everything, that just literally brought everything in. And so she's trying to navigate her own confidence, this relationship. How can she communicate how she's feeling with him as you do in a new relationship with cameras on? And like literally everything is like this close. And I said to them, I feel like, and they put it in the script. I said, I feel like all her thoughts just are like right here. And they just circle around her head and they never go out. Her attention and her persona doesn't go occupy the room. It goes about 3 or 4 inches from her body. And so that informed my kinesiology of the character. And it also, look, there's distractions on set. There's egos. There's sometimes things that happen that make you feel less confident. There's something happening in your personal life that can throw you off your game. You might feel unwell. There's so many things that can distract us in our process that if I make sure I know what that home base is, I can, no matter what, get myself there. So at least I can always make sure I'm in the right place.
Yeah.
And then find the scene. If I'm feeling off, I can at least place her where she needs to be. And that was like with Dharma and Greg, it was yes. Everything was yes. And that was her home base. And then she navigates and handles all the communication and situations. And crazy, her mother-in-law giving her like absolute nullifying shit. She'd be like, okay, well. So always coming from yes and curiosity and let's see. I don't know. Not judging. I'm never saying no. It's always yes.
Oh, wow.
Even if she wasn't saying it, it informed everything.
Yes.
And so that was Dharma and Greg. That was Ed TV. Keeping the Faith was actually a really interesting journey for me because I had to go from girl to woman. Dharma was very much a girl. And she had girl energy. I was like 24 when I played her, and I was very kinetic. I am an energetic person. And this girl was in Keeping the Faith, is an extremely powerful business consultant and very smart, very confident, very educated, and highly positioned in her company. That felt like I was put on Saturn. It took me to find what is that. I worked with Edward and, which was really cool. He was the director. So he really helped actually guide me in terms of the visual presentation of her. He's like, grow out your eyebrows. They need to be thicker because it was like the 90s skinny eyebrows. But he helped craft, and the wardrobe designer, Mike, oh my God, so incredible. And her lines were very minimal. And her hair was beautiful but minimal, and her skin was glowing tan but minimal. And so I lowered my voice so much, and I slowed down how I spoke. I mean, my voice is so much lower, that version now, but at the time I was really up here. My register was really and it was like freaking torture to slow myself down. I actually later realized I had a hyperactive thyroid.
Oh my gosh.
Think that actually also contributed to a lot of the kinetic factor, but it worked. But I think it's also why it was probably very hard for me to slow myself down for the role of Anna Riley in Keeping the Faith. And I had to almost sit on my hands in scenes and just slow it down. And I felt like it was like a total exercise. And it made me confident. I grew. I proved to myself I could be a woman and not a girl. Through that experience, through the process of creating that character, I became a woman. And that was incredible.
It's so funny because that's how I see you. Confident, strong, all those things that you mentioned, that's how I see you. I see you as somebody that you could throw anything at and you'd figure it out and end up on the other side of it. I have such respect for that. It's true though. That also, I mean, it's just, maybe it's also seeing you in your daily life and how you juggle things and move things around and how you conquer things. And then you go to set and then you're like, this is work now. I don't know. It was just like you feel very capable.
Karen and I were talking about something when we were getting ready for this, and it's that part of you just hit upon it, and it's you've done all the legwork, you've done all the prep, and then we start losing the day, and then somebody can't hit the focus right, and that's fine because everybody's allowed to fail to do things, but now it snowballs, and now we're at the end of the day. It's we've got 2 minutes because we're now post-pandemic and we are going to wrap at a specific time or not get the shot. So, and then they tell you, here's your close-up. You're about to get your finger lopped off. And Karen and I just are standing by the monitor watching you with 3 minutes left to go. Stand and deliver. And it was amazing.
It was chaos inside that train car. Do you remember?
Don't know how you did it.
Yeah. What he's talking about, where they cut that.
Oh yeah.
But it was this close. You know, it was a tight
right here.
one on
They gave you like one take.
One shot to hit it.
And you did.
Nuts.
I think, this necessity, it also felt, necessity is amazing. What it'll, it's like to actually, as something I've been working on lately is self-generating necessity and not waiting for an outside influence to give me my necessity. That's a real self-discipline I've been working on, is inventing my own high enough necessity that launches me into the most effective action and good problem-solving ideas to self-generate forward motion and creativity in my life, and not wait for an outside source to determine my necessity.
Right.
But I think, in that moment, I think some people get chaotic under pressure. Like, I actually like pressure. I don't mind stakes being super high. I love it. I like the challenge. I think because I like the challenge, I'm like, and I grew up with like 4 boys across the street, an older brother. And I think it almost incites a good, healthy, not a competitive against anybody else, but a self-competition of, can I frickin' pull this off? That sort of like, I'll show them. That's not the right thing, because it's not at war with another. Yeah, prove to myself I can do this. It becomes almost very calm, a calm mental state of hyper focus, and it almost becomes super intimate, which actually feeds the emotion of the story. It has to happen. And it's almost like it gives you that right to fully go in, as opposed to if you knew you had 4 takes ahead of you, you might try one out, see how it goes.
Yeah.
But if you fucking have to get it, like, whoo, like you just kind of like levitate, like in your creative space, and you do it. And I actually like the hyper focus of that, which is probably why I was able to operate under the pressure.
But you were there, and it was a wonder to behold. I swear.
Well, yeah, because there was so many in that tight little space, and it was hot, and it was just.
They built a train car because they thought it was going to save money.
Instead of making it so you could split it in half. I don't know. Whatever.
I wasn't part of those meetings.
I wasn't either. See,
They
I
didn't
always
ask
say
hair and makeup.
they just should ask us. We'll let them know how much easier their lives could be. I don't know why they don't do that. They just don't. They don't really, I love hearing about how you get into it, and the fact that you find a home base and where you are, and that you can always go back to that home base. Let's just talk about this for just a second. You are busy. You're working. You're a mother. You're a wife. You are an actor. You're doing all these things, and you still have to keep it all together. You never get to just stop being a mom. I don't think you never get to just stop being the wife. So how do you combine the two? How do you get through?
How do you navigate?
Things? How do you navigate through moving your family all to one vacation and doing things and making sure boys go to school and making all that stuff? Does your process go as deep there as it does for work?
Yeah, I think I enjoy the meal of life. I enjoy using my mind and challenging my IQ to solve problems as like a meal. Like, I love like chunks.
Yeah, Jack,
there it is. So I have one for each kid that it's just like, oh, I have to. Easton has to, and he wanted to, and for school I have to, but I have to keep them separate. Oh, he has to go to the doctor, the dentist, and then I have my own, having to do with my professional life, and then I have my own having to do with household. So I have a lot of tablets of paper, and each one is for a different hat that I wear in my life, and I keep. And I have like kind of written on it story, on the binding part that keeps it all at the top. Easton, house, career, life, and that helps me, because if I try to do one big to-do list, it's too many things, because I have too many hats that I wear, and I have to just keep them separate. And then I have my daily one. So I just kind of go, okay, today there's the things that come in, like today I have the podcast, and this morning I had, just your annual like doctor appointments.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so from 11:30 to 5, what can I accomplish? What can I move the needle on? What can I enhance? What can I improve the condition of, or which of all of these things can I actually get and execute on today or move to the next step?
Okay.
And so that's taken me a very long time to find a workable system. It's literally an admin system for me. Mm-hmm. Everyone has a different one. But regardless, it's like a hunger need to manage time. Mm-hmm. And it's incredible. And my husband is just going to be rolling right now. He's like, oh, now you're doing the lists? Because he's been saying it for so long, and I was kind of keeping not enough lists. And so it was getting in my head. And what happened is I'm like, no, I have it. I don't need to write it all down. I really have a grasp. I know my kids. I know what they need to do. He's like, write it down. And I think men are really list guys. But I was like, and then I realized when too much is in here, even though I can multitask and manage a lot, the problem was a huge lag and delay on execution. Mm-hmm. I couldn't take it from need to do it to how am I going to? Mm-hmm. And as soon as I got it on paper, and it's all separate, I started going, how am I going to tackle this? That's the question I asked myself. Mm-hmm. Okay, this one, how am I going to tackle this? Let's see. And just by like getting it down and then asking myself that question, it actually starts the ball rolling on being influential over it as opposed to it being influential over me and stifling me into no action.
I have probably 4 notebooks going right now, because I have a different notebook for different parts of my life as well. I think separating it out makes it easier and not so overwhelming.
You can re-engage your executive function when you do that. It's only by separating the forest from the trees do you actually be able to go, we're going to chop down this one first, then this one, then that one. That's how we're getting through here.
Yeah.
And it seems so easy and obvious, but it's taking me forever to actually find a workable system. Oh. Yeah.
I am that person. I can sit and look at something that I know I have to do, and I'll look at it every day and not do it. And I don't know why, because it's not hard. You just do it. But if there's 5 things I have to do all day, I just won't do any of them.
I understand. I had to actually take the step, the knowing step of actually asking myself, how am I going to tackle this? Like, actually, how am I going to tackle this problem or this issue or thing I have to accomplish? And it put me in an active mental state of confronting it as opposed to looking at it over there. Which listen, Karen, I've been there. I understand, man. Yes. And I just recently started going, how am I going to tackle this? And all of a sudden motion started happening. I was able to actually start balls rolling and changing things in time and space towards a result.
I have to do that.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. Then I'll have to start doing that, because it's amazing to me how much stuff I don't want to do, or I want to do it. I just don't do it. I'm sitting here looking in my room, and there's probably like 4 things I need to do right in front of me.
Sure.
Just hysterical. But
well, it's like if you don't immediately know how to do it, then you feel like you need to think about it, or just stare at it until you arrive at what to do about it.
Yeah.
And so it takes the actual like active exercise of going, how am I going to tackle this problem? And start a communication into the area, which actually starts it. It changes it out of stagnant and puts it into motion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thinking about the thing is not doing the thing.
Yeah.
Only doing the thing is doing the thing.
I have started it. What I'll start doing now is I'll start at one corner of the room and do the first thing that needs to kind of be done. And if that's all I do, that's all I do. But usually once I start there, then I just move and move and move. But I don't do like walk into a room and be like, oh my gosh, there's so much here. Now I'm just like, night, I can do this. Mm-hmm. And then I can do this. But yeah, I'm sitting here. I have 4 books at my desk right now of lists in there of things I need to do.
Look, sometimes when I'm overwhelmed like that, I'm like, and they all feel important. That's the thing too, is I can't figure out which one I should do first because they all feel like equally important.
Yeah.
Like, and I really, go, okay, what am I going to do how can I tackle this problem? Sometimes I will just, to get the ball rolling, I'm like, what am I willing to confront right now? Like, what am I actually willing to look at? And because the wrong thing to do is nothing. So
Yes.
what am I willing to do? And I just get myself active that way and started. And then that gets me into a momentum where I'm then more willing to do more things.
It is funny how it's,
Yeah.
I think a lot of, I don't know if that's just creative people or not, but my sister's very much the same way. And now we laugh about it because my mom is the complete opposite. She is just a doer. She's a task doer. So she looks at us and is like, why don't you just do it? And I'm like, it's not that simple. It's hard for me to explain it to you. I know how easy it is to empty the dishes out of a dishwasher, but I really hate emptying the dishwasher. And it's like, that's not that big of a deal. Or I know I need to call this and make a doctor's appointment. Nope, don't do it. I don't want to. And it's so weird.
What I picked up recently? Because my youngest son, like, he's going through the phase where he loves UFC and boxing. And, they box and everything. I saw, so in his fascination with these things, there's lots of YouTube being watched of UFC and interviews with different things, boxing. And so there was this interview with Mike Tyson, and I actually love this nugget of information. He goes, do the things you hate as if you love them.
My wife says that all the time. She loves that.
Yeah. I'd never heard it before, and I used it in a couple areas, and it just bypassed whatever mechanism keeps me from doing something I hate. And it generated just enough interest and curiosity or love that was like artificial. Even if it's artificial, it pulled from something I do love or a similar wavelength of interest, and it superimposes it on the thing you hate and puts you into action. It really is workable.
I don't know if I'll ever love washing dishes.
I will never love folding clothes. I understand.
Yeah, no, I will never
I will
love.
say both of those things, both of those cycles, the dish cycle and the laundry cycle, are the bane of everyone's existence. And
I have what I call doom piles. I have a doom pile. And once you go in the doom pile, you're going to live there for a long time until somebody's coming to my house and I need to pick up the doom pile. That's the only thing that because it's just like, I know it. I know when I take it off my bed and I put it on my little stool next to my dresser, it's going to live there.
That's the first step. It's
just going to live there for a while. Huh?
That's the first step. And then it'll go over to the other thing. And then
doom piles, I call them.
Yeah, no, those Peloton bikes, I think, are just a clothes hanger. It's just a really expensive clothes hanger. And when my wife and I got a rowing machine, I said, okay, one rule. Oh,
I have a rowing machine.
Not a single piece of clothing gets put on there ever.
Is it in the bedroom?
It was in the bedroom, and now it's in the office. But
and when was the last time you guys used it?
Casey used it way sooner than I have, for sure. For sure.
I have a beautiful one upstairs in what would be my office. And I was like, God, I really should just, plug that in and do it. And then I was like, walk away.
At least it's not a clothes hanger.
It is absolutely not a clothes hanger because I've done that before too. But no,
all you can do is plug it in. Just do that. Just say, I'm going to plug it in.
That's what I'm going to do today.
That'll be it. Yeah.
And then tomorrow, maybe I'll turn it on.
Maybe.
And then just turn it on and then walk away. And then at least you've done 2 steps more than you have in the last month.
Exactly. Thank you so much for doing all this and sharing your insights and all the beauty that is you. We have a few questions that we kind of ask everybody.
It's a hard-hitting question.
Is that the fun ones? Hot peppers?
No.
Pepper guy.
We haven't even brought peppers into this. I've been very, very good at not pumping the peppers. But
I love your pepper candies. I love them.
Oh, you should see they do now the milk chocolate with them in them, and it's.
We, for Christmas, went out of this world hot. So we started by making almost like a candy, like a brittle, and got the temperature up to around 300 degrees with the sugar, and made something that was just we put it in our mouths and we were like, that's too hot. And then the game became how many layers of chocolate and caramel and nuts and pretzels and other things can we add to it to then make this something that will not just destroy
burn your mouth,
people.
and it still does a little bit. But I
And-
had some. Oh my gosh.
We had like a take 5 version, and then Casey and I
Amazing.
got crazy with. I had never made a honeycomb before, but I was like, if they did it on Squid Game, I think we could do it too. So we heated up the
What did you
the
do
sugar.
during the strike, Jack?
Yeah. Oh, so much during the strike. So we
my
heated
God.
it up,
Yes.
added some pepper pulp to it. It starts like just fumigating the house. I run outside as I'm whipping this thing, and I go, Casey,
amazing.
get the baking soda, and she throws baking soda into it. It starts just erupting onto this silicone mat, and we ended up making this delicious spicy honeycomb that we were like, this is still too spicy. We need to coat this in dark chocolate. And so that was some of our
It's
favorite.
really good. It's really good.
Sounds so good.
It's really
It does.
good.
It is still really hot. They both gave me a piece, and then they both sat there like, what's going to happen now? And I was like, oh, this is good. And I was like, oh, that's a little hot. That's a little hot. Do you have some
It's like
milk?
a gift
That's
that
little
keeps
hot.
on giving.
Yeah,
It's a
it does.
creeper.
But it's really, 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 really tasty.
You're right on the money. And because it was a very much a whoa, what is going to happen the first time, that I think it'll be much better and much more controlled this
But not
time
quite
around.
as exciting to make. Let's be honest. That was you guys weren't sure if you were going to lose a house.
Never a dull moment. Never a dull
Lessons
moment.
learned.
Lessons learned.
So this hard-hitting question that I have for you it's one that's near and dear to my heart, and that is, what is your go-to crafty snack?
Oh, yes, very important actually.
So important. Take your time.
It's a salty, crunchy, whatever version they have that's the least bad for me. Like if it has to be Fritos, let it be.
So be it.
If
Pirate
it's
booty.
Pirate booty though is very messy. And so then wardrobe doesn't like me for that because it's little particles and they have little bits of oil. And then apocalypse, not so, I mean, no one can tell. That was the beauty. Wipe it on you. You wipe your hands and no one would care.
Yeah.
I
But
know.
if it's those veggie, little veggie straws. I love the
The
it's like
crunch.
meditative for me. So I'll sit in my chair and like daydream while I slowly crunch my salty, crunchy snacks. I am a person who loves salty, crunchy meditation.
Love it.
Nice.
Love it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Solid answer.
That is a good one. That is
Yeah.
a good one.
What's your go-to breakfast?
Green juice.
On set. Green juice only. No beet juice, just the green.
Just the green. So it's like apples, celery, whatever they're doing that day. I don't like beets. Keep those far away from me.
Me
Yeah,
too.
it's dirt.
But I don't like a heavy meal in my belly. It actually makes my body too contented. And I feel less motivated, inspired, and focused. And if I have a slight calorie deficiency when I'm working, it helps me, especially in the apocalypse, because they would be calorie deficient.
Yeah, because they never
And
ate.
it put my body in a fight or flight mode that I wouldn't have to act. It would just be. In terms of like comedy, I can eat a little bit more than I did in the apocalypse days of filming, but not ever a full meal. I don't want like a big breakfast burrito. Like, God, no.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
At lunch, are you a eat type of lady, a work type of lady, or a take a nap type of lady?
Eat, baby. Eat. I love to sit in with my fellow coworkers at lunch. I rarely get food and go back to my trailer. It feels very lonely and sad. I don't like that. Unless I'm like literally on 2 hours of sleep and I have a monologue and I really should try and get a nap in out of responsibility for my job. But no, I love having lunch with my coworkers because that's where you get to communicate about other things and get to know everyone. Because, there's a patter when you're on set working. It's the nomenclature and patter of professional creative with stakes high, clock ticking. And there's not a lot of time to chat and get to know each other because we have jobs to do and we have to focus. And I really look forward to lunch so that I can hang out with my coworkers and have fun conversations and get to know them better. So that's me. I like
That's
that.
nice.
That's
Okay.
great.
Now this is true to Jack's heart. What is your jock jam?
My who? What?
Your jock jam. I know, that's what I always say too. Jack, would you like to explain what a jock jam is?
So, I'll speak for the makeup trailer.
What's
but
that?
What's that? A jock jam is any song that they would play at a sporting event in between the plays or the quarters or the innings or it could be the the seventh inning stretch technically would be considered a jock jam, but like pump up the jam would be like a very much, they're trying to rally up the crowd and get them interested right before they shoot off the t-shirt cannon.
Yep, totally. Okay, I'm tracking. God, what is my jock jam?
Like, what do you
Back
play?
in Black, AC/DC, Back in Black.
Ooh, good one.
That's a good one.
We haven't heard that one before.
I'm
Really?
Journey, Don't Stop Believing. And Jack is...
Rock and Roll Part 2 by Gary Glitter.
Oh.
Hey!
Because that has group participation in it.
It does.
Yes.
It does.
Yes.
See.
Yes.
And I also do like the Kiss Cam when they play Kiss Me by Sixpence None the Richer. That's always a good one, too. So one of our last favorite questions that we love to ask is, so often we get T-shirts or hats as a wrap gift. And,
Yes.
what was the best wrap gift that you ever got? And if you would like to say what the worst wrap gift is, you're welcome to do that, too.
Good question.
Right? Take your time.
Like main wrap gift, like from production kind of thing, or like because the best. I think some of the best wrap gifts were from the Fear the Walking Dead sound department, season 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Oh
Wow. Okay.
We had in Austin this incredible sound department, and they made the most awesome T-shirts. I still have them all. I wear them when I work out. I love them. Like great, very creative, hilarious artwork. That's really cool.
That's nice.
I'd have to say those are the best. Worst. I mean, I think it's something you just like are like, I can't use this. Like, what would that be? What's the worst have I gotten?
The worst is hard. What's the worst you've ever gotten, Jack?
No, I need help with that.
I got a golf towel. Right?
Was it a golf show?
No, it was not a golf show. It was like they opened up the back of the Uline catalog and we're like, what's the most awkward thing? Oh, here's a coffee cup that looks like it came from either a Waffle House or a Super 8 motel. Here's I don't know why I just turned into my mother while saying this, but
Oh my God.
but and here's a golf towel, and it's still hanging off my bag to this day, just because what else am I gonna do with it?
Was it the worst then?
It really is, because it really
You used it all the time, though.
I don't know that I use it all the time, but
I think the worst for me, which isn't itself bad, but it was like a beer cozy. Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
I'm not a beer person. I literally never drink beer ever. And I guess you could use it for like a cold drink, but I don't drink soda either. So I was just like, I literally have no use for this thing. And what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
That was probably the worst, only because it wasn't bad. I just had no use for it.
Sure.
Like the golf towel, but I couldn't tie it on anything. It's very handy to have a towel at any given time.
It's for your golf bag, and you can wipe off your clubs and your balls.
It's a very Douglas Adams of you ladies.
Here's the best version.
I don't know if I've ever gotten a terrible, terrible one. I'm sure there is. To be honest, not gonna lie, Tales of the Walking Dead. Mikey gave us all captain hats.
Mikey gave us a bar of soap right before Christmas break. That's what he.
Yeah, but that was because we were all dirty because of the swamps.
So
You
dirty
can
in the
use
swamp.
soap though. Like you
Yeah,
really
soap
can
is
use
okay.
soap.
But
Soap's good.
Tales of the Walking Dead, and it was like the white captain's hat with the black thing, and the thing says cap. Why?
Was that from the swamp boat episode? Was that what it was calling?
No, it was Tales of the Walking Dead, not Fear the Walking Dead. It was
the thing that we did that was the 6 episodes.
No, I know. I watched every episode of that. But one of the episode.
There was a boat. There was a boat thing that we had, but
is that what that was referring to?
I don't know.
Like,
Nobody knew.
Nobody
knew what it was about. They gave us a baseball shirt that was nice with it all done, and a captain's hat. It's like, this is so rando. The funny thing is Randy, he wears his all the time. Of course he does.
Oh.
He wears his all the time. He wore it on an airplane. He took it on a trip. And
What
his
might
wife
be right
Heather
for
was
you
just like, what are you doing? And he's like, what?
not
It's
be
my
right
hat.
for
It's my
some.
captain's hat.
I'm sure it's not completely arbitrary. If it was from Mikey, there's got to be a concept on it.
Always.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I'm going to have to ask him the question about the captain's hat, but I was just like, because I wasn't there when they gave him away. So when
I
Randy
see.
gave him to me, it was like, and I'm like, what is this? So
You should have Mikey on the podcast and then have him explain it.
Oh, we're
I
going
know.
to, and we're going to ask him these hard-hitting questions
Oh, you know
and
what? I am
more.
going to ask him where the captain. He gave us the hammocks on the last one, which
Oh,
was
the
great.
hammock. I still have my hammock. I'm just waiting for 2 trees.
2 trees and a nice breeze. Well, thank you so much, Jenna. It's
Thank
been
you.
so good seeing your face and hearing your stories. I hope
You
that
too.
we
I
can
really
do this
miss
again.
you guys so much.
I know.
miss being in your chair every morning. I miss
I miss it all.
I miss my tan and dirt and burn, and I miss the perfect hair extensions that gave me feral
so much-
June, and
God,
that
it was
you
so
did it
beautiful,
so
though.
competently and fastly, and I was only in the hair chair for like 10, 15 minutes max.
That's Karen.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what she does.
I know.
She's a
Amazing.
magician.
I know. But
I
it
know.
was so much fun. I miss it all. I miss all of that so much that I just
Me
am
too.
like, let's just go back and do June takes over the world.
Well, I know that June has more to say. I know that she has more to tell. Will they put a camera on it is the question. And I can't wait to see it when they do.
Oh, she'll say it as somebody else.
Yeah. Or somebody else.
As somebody else. But thank you
Isn't
again
it great
so
that
much.
we all want to do more, that we all loved it so much? I think that's the gratitude of, when we're lucky enough to have people
Yeah.
where we love each other so
Mm-hmm.
much, and we not just love each other, but we love each other in the creative space as well. And then can have fun conversations. And you, Jack, I mean,
I know.
the laughter.
Right
You
before I
are
put my foot
hilarious.
I know.
Right before I put my foot in my mouth, it's normally the funniest, and then I realized
Yeah.
why
That's
I
why I
need
always
to be
came in there,
quiet.
because it was always so good at the end of the day to get the jokes and the funs and the giggles.
It was awesome. It was so awesome. I love working with you guys.
Oh, I
wanna
love
do
working
more.
with
so
you
much.
too.
I think that was probably one of the best crews as far as everybody got along. Everybody was
Hands
happy to
down.
be there.
Yes.
Yep.
And not only that, the give and the take. And when you said, hey, I remember there was this beard kerfuffle. They wanted a guy to have a beard, and then they wanted it shaved off, and then they wanted him to have it again. And I go, that's not going to work. And they said, why won't it work? I go, because there is an AD in this room. So if I make a promise, he's going to make it so that I am a liar. And they did. And
Yeah, it was the whole scheduling thing.
it was a whole scheduling thing. And of course they tried to fight to not do that. But then at the end of the day, what happened? And I
lied.
remember, because I never wanted to say, Mikey's the greatest guy ever, great executive producer. But I said, Mikey, that's not going to work. And it's not going to look right. There's about 3 different things that I could do right now that I can give you some test makeups on. And he goes, no, we're not doing that. You told me it's not going to work. We're not doing that.
So nice.
Oh, love that. Love that when somebody says that and goes to bat for you and goes, you don't have to prove it. We're doing what you said.
Yes.
And then when we were behind the 8 ball because of scheduling and the rain and in Savannah was a thing. I said, we've literally painted ourselves into a corner. What are we going to do? And then Ian and Andrew came in and went, we'll write it that the scene happens over a walkie-talkie, and we'll have them record it sooner or earlier when the beard was still on. And we got out of that jam. But just that it had to go through that many trials and tribulations in order to work itself out, and no one was yelling at each other. No one was backstabbing, or I didn't have to wear my helmet hardly ever before I got thrown under the bus. So, that's...
Yeah. It definitely is. It was a pleasure. And I feel like we met so many amazing people that we are still, talking to. But we will all be together.
Yeah.
We will. I have faith. I have faith that we will.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Right.
All right,
Yeah.
lovely. We will.
Thank you.
Guys.
Bye. Thank you guys so much for being with us on the NoNDB podcast, Tales from the Trailer. We really hope that you enjoyed the conversation today and look forward to sharing more stories with you.